Hey everybody, this is my Striped Raphael Catfish in my 55-gallon Gourami tank. I've been down here tinkering around with my waterfall this afternoon. It's a rainy day, but nonetheless I've been out in the yard collecting up some bits of moss and some little bits of plant here and there. Just messing around with it, seeing what I can do with it. I've been having a lot of fun. But I looked over and noticed that my Striped Raphael is out, which is not normal. Even when it's at this end of the tank, it usually sits tucked up inside this, for lack of a better word, we can call that a cave right there. I know it's a little spacious for a cave, but nonetheless, he normally sits tucked up in there as though it's a cave. I guess from the perspective of above, if you were underneath of that rock, it would give you a certain sense of security. It would protect you from the bright light above and everything. So possibly that's why he does it. I have made a few changes to this tank. Namely, I have tidied it up and I've removed a lot of the vegetation right there. That nice fresh green clump of Java fern, as of yesterday, was a thick, matted, bushy, overgrown pile of Java fern that had growth all over it and algae growing all over it. So it really darkened this end of the tank. Another change I made is I added an angelfish. See if you can spot it. Yeah, there it is. Loving the angelfish in here. It was getting kind of big for being in the 29 to begin with, so I put it over in this tank. They were kind of being a little aggressive towards each other, and this tank was a little understocked in my opinion, so I thought that angelfish would go nicely in here. I'm still considering getting some other sort of fish to help me deal with all of the explosion of the hair algae. I am going to cut back on feeding it. It being the tank, of course. I have cleaned the filter, so that really filthy filter was contributing to just a huge amount of bioload being produced in the tank effectively. And so if I can keep that down, keep the nitrates down, a little bit more under control in this tank, and maybe reduce the lighting a little bit by keeping some overhead floating plants, maybe we'll see a little bit of an improvement. But I still need some kind of fish in here that's going to help me munch away at that. The guppies I have in here, and I added several more, they will chew at it a little bit and they'll help, but not a whole lot. I've noticed the gouramis in here nibbling at it, but they have not been doing a whole lot either. I've had a few people recommend flagfish, and I actually have some flagfish upstairs that kind of need a new home. They're in a 20-gallon tank. I didn't really realize how aggressive they can be. The salesperson at the store told me that they were basically going to be about like having some mollies in the tank, and they're really not. They're instead of being similar to live bearers, they're actually closer to like really chilled out cichlids. They're not hyper aggressive, but they're definitely nippy and aggressive. And I'm also having issues with the guppies in the tank being aggressive towards the flagfish. So they kind of need to be rehomed, but I'm not really sure where to put them. I thought about this tank, but with them being nippy, this tank's not a good idea. I've got that long-finned angelfish, I've got the gouramis, and of course the gouramis have those modified pectoral fins, those modified pelvic fins that act sort of like feelers, and those are very sensitive fins. If they get chewed off, it's much like removing a cat's whiskers. They're sense organs that the fish rely on. So it's a little more serious than just having some, like the angelfish having its fin nipped or something like that. I've also got that Whiptail Catfish in here, and its tail already gets nipped. I don't need anything else that's going to be in here nipping on its tail anymore than is already going on. So the flagfish are kind of out of the question for this tank. I used to have at least a couple of rubber lip plecos in here, and I've not seen one in quite a while. The rubber lips tend to be sensitive. It's tough to get them to live very long, at least in my water it has been. I usually get a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years out of them, and then they just kind of fade away and die. So I'm assuming I don't have any more rubber lips in this tank, and that's certainly an option. Well, you can really see how my loach enjoys the rooting around. I just put this plant in here yesterday, so since it came out of my holding tank, I'm sure it's got snails on it, and that's probably what you can see, that loach rooting around there, doing all that stuff, digging around in the roots like that. And now it's up here, trying to see it on both the camera and with my eyeballs. So that's exactly what that loach is doing. It's rooting through all that vegetation, looking for all those little snails, and it will get every one of them eventually. If you got a snail problem, get some loaches. You won't have a snail problem anymore. The downshot is I considered putting some of my mystery snails in this tank to help me deal with the algae. And you also can't put mystery snails in a tank that has loaches. And that loach that we're seeing there is my Angelicus loach. And I do have a clown loach and a red-tailed loach in this tank. And so any kind of snails at all would be short-lived. Again, you can see what's going on now with this loach. It's just scouring this vegetation because it's a source of food in there. So I will be going easy on the feeding on this tank later this evening. Maybe I'll just focus on putting some algae wafers on the bottom for some of the fish, and we'll leave it at that. So there you go. I just wanted to do a little bit of an update, shoot some video here while my Striped Raphael was out. I was kind of hoping we'd get a chance to see it swim around a little bit. It's a really fascinating fish. And this one, I guess, is more than 5 years old now, but I doubt it's 6 yet. Somewhere in that neighborhood. We'll call it 5 years old. And if you want to get a sense of scale, we can put my hand in there. That might make him a little nervous and make him move. So he's a pretty good sized fish. He's probably that big around. And for as big and cumbersome and clumsy as it looks, and as much as it may even seem that way when it waddles around on the bottom, because that seems to be its preferred form of locomotion, is to just sort of waddle around on the bottom almost like it's crawling. But if you are fortunate enough to see it freely swimming through the water column, it's an amazingly graceful fish, and you can tell it's an amazingly powerful fish too. So it looks more to me like a sort of a ray or a shark, the way it moves through the water, if we ever get a chance to see it free swimming. So usually when I see it sitting out like this, I grab my camera and I try to get some video just in hopes that we will get to see some free swimming. So let me see if I can put my other hand down here and gently sort of encourage him to swim away. It doesn't seem like any of that's going to bother him. He's just chilling. Alright everybody, there you go. We're going to call that the end of this video. I'm going to say thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. I probably will be doing another live stream here really soon. I'm not sure if tonight is going to be the night, but hopefully one of these days in the very near future I will be doing another live stream. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you've got the notification on so you won't miss it when I do go live. It'll probably be a spur-of-the-moment decision. And if you're subscribed and you've got the notification alert going on, then you will know the moment I go live. Hopefully. Come on, fish, swim for us. Not going to do it, I guess. Alright, everybody, don't forget what I said. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.